Bitcoin would be a big winner from a potential US recession as it's built to thrive in a high fiscal spending, low interest rate environment, says a BlackRock executive. Mitch Nick said that Bitcoin is catalyzed by increased fiscal spending, deficit accumulation, lower interest rates, true, and monetary stimulus, all of which tend to happen in recessions. It's also catalyzed by some extent over fears of general social disorder. People go, oh shit, things are getting a little violent around me. I better put my money somewhere safe where someone can't steal it from me. Um, Risk on assets such as stocks, commodities, and high yield bonds tend to suffer during times of economic crisis. But Mitch Nick said in September he believed that this asset was mislabeled. That's where the opportunity comes in for education in a market and an asset class that's still very nascent. Most people still don't understand Bitcoin at all. He added that some of BlackRock's more sophisticated long-term accumulator clients see the market correction as a buying opportunity and aren't bothered by current economic headwinds. He also mentioned that there's been a huge outflow of Bitcoin ETFs over the last 2 months. He wasn't worried about the mass outflows across most spot Bitcoin exchange trade funds at late, pointing out that this has mostly come from hedge funds unwinding the spot futures arbitrage trade, not the long-term buy and hold crowd. So basically, a lot of people were buying the ETF, riding the upward move, and then shorting the CME futures to create a neutral cash and carry trade where they could just arbitrage the difference for like a 5-6% spread. Ironically, if they just bought Bitcoin and held it, they'd be up several X. But instead of that, they try to be all slick about it. And I get it. They're taking no risk doing that. Anyway, BlackRock doesn't seem to be too perturbed about this. And kind of feeding into that, they said they're not really seeing much loss or drop, if you will, in the long-term investor, just the hedge funds that are getting in and getting out. This is pretty interesting. So long-term holders continue to hold profits despite Bitcoin prices dropping to a near 4-month low, indicating a strong belief in the bull market rally that would eventually resume. So long-term holder activity remains largely subdued with a notable decline in their sell-side pressure, said Glassnode, who tracks all these things on chain in a March 18th markets report. So long-term holders show signs of bullishness. The binary spending indicator, a metric used to determine when long-term holders, those are people, by the way, defined as holding their Bitcoin in crypto for more than 155 days. Behaviorally speaking, if someone holds for 155 days, they're far less likely to sell. So basically, this metric used to determine when long-term holders are spending a significant portion of their holdings, aka selling in a sustained manner, shows a slowdown, while the long-term holder supply is also beginning to rebound after several months of decline. Basically, some long-term holders have been dropping their bags, and now they're starting to turn it back around and increase those again. This is perhaps a shift in sentiment with long-term holder behavior moving away from sell-side distribution. If you look at this, the black line is the Bitcoin price. Orange line is the overall long-term Bitcoin holder supply. Supply is up. Right around here, we can see a couple different waves here. So long-term holders are holding. And in January 24, they start distributing and dropping down to a low supply. They're selling into strength back around the move from 40K up to 60K. You're getting back to those previous all-time highs. They drop to a low as the market starts moving down. As the market moves down, they start increasing their exposure. They reach maximum exposure right when Bitcoin basically hits its bottom from the summer. They're buying the dip. Then as prices start to rise, they start slowly selling into that volume, right? So long-term holders have been selling big time, actually, ever since last summer. Selling, hitting a bottom right as Trump takes office, essentially. We get that peak right there. And then they have been accumulating on these drops.